Hello friends, my name is Money Ness and I'm actually doing a Top 5 Wednesday. Sometimes I see these topics and I want to participate, but I actually can't think of any answers. And I have a feeling that the only two things that I could think of that fit this Topic Wednesday doesn't have quite the same ring to it as Top 5 Wednesday. But today I actually have answers. Today's topic is the top 5 books that we read in one sitting or close to. So in order to determine this, I went through my Goodreads since I'm actually very good about marking things as currently reading when I'm currently reading them and then always marking them with an end date. Interestingly enough, I've done a lot less one sitting reading in the last year. I think this is a combination of two things. The first is just how I'm reading with time being limited. I'm just sitting down to read small chunks whenever I can and I don't actually have the hours to string together a one sitting reading as much as I used to. And also I used to be a one book at a time reader and I'm completely not anymore. I start a lot of different books at the same time and I really wanted to get down on myself when this pattern started, but I just figured that as long as I'm reading and I'm eventually finishing things, there's really no problem with reading either one book at a time or more than one book at a time. So that said, here are the top 5 books that I finished in one sitting. Number 5 is Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver. I was absolutely transported back to high school through this book, and even though the main characters were catty and mean, I found myself remembering times when I had been that version of catty and mean. And I think a lot of people, if they're honest with themselves, can say that they have been there as well, because it's the inside jokes and the things you say about other people to your friends because you know that nobody's listening and it's in confidence. So that was definitely something that I saw reflected in these characters, that I could sit there and say, oh, they're awful, but we've all done it. In this book, a popular girl named Samantha Kingston relives the last day of her life over and over again. As you read, the inevitable end is kind of hanging up before you, teasing you at the edges of this story, and it's part of what made me want to speed right through it because I just had to know how it ended. I had to know what came of this girl, and not only that, but of the people that she's surrounded with and the people that would ultimately suffer her loss the most. Second, I have The Samaritan by Fred Venturini. I spoke about this book in depth when it was re-released as The Heart Does Not Grow Back. While I enjoyed the re-release, I preferred the indie release that you probably can't get anywhere. I also don't have a copy except for on my Kindle. I'm trying to get one through Amazon because I would love to keep it for my physical library, but there you go. This book is probably not for everyone because it is a bit graphic. It has a relatively unlikable main character, and the story can get rather bro-y at times. The story is about a character named Dale Sampson who is a big-time and perpetual loser. He falls in obsessive love with a popular girl in high school and she is killed. And in that incident, he finds that he has this amazing ability to regrow limbs. That, coupled with the fact that he later meets the twin sister of the girl he loved in high school, kind of drives the story forward into how Dale deals with this power. I love how the aspect of regrowing limbs was handled because it's very magical realism in the fact that it just is a thing that can happen, and it allows the author to talk about more things about life and love and hurt. It's kind of a downer story, but I loved what it had to say about life and the way we give ourselves over to other people. Number 3 is The Lover's Dictionary by David Levithan. This is obviously made for devouring in one sitting, and apart from being short, it is also built to be finished quickly because it relies on a gimmick of telling a story out of order and using these small entries, dictionary entries, for certain words that describe the crumbling relationship between a man and a woman. I know that some people have read it and thought it was just okay because they wanted more to the story, and while I would have loved to hear more about the story, to me what made this so amazing was the play on words. There is so much wordplay in this. I loved every moment and every entry, and if I still had an aim away message, I would probably only fill it with quotes from this book. Additionally, there were moments that were so achingly familiar in here. There were small interactions between the man and the woman that felt like if they could have been plucked from my own life. So I feel like maybe because of that, it might feel stereotypical to some people, but to me, it felt more familiar. Number 2 is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. It is the story of Ava Lavender, who is a girl who was born with bird wings. And more than that, it is also the story of her mother and her grandmother who are seemingly cursed to make questionable decisions when it comes to love. Ava Lavender is incredibly lyrical and also very, very strange, but in a way that was appealing to me. It was incredibly heart-wrenching as we watched people walk into the lives of these women and fall in love with their differences instead of their person. I was hooked from the first page and I had no idea where the story was going, and at one point it even felt like the story wasn't actually going anywhere to a fixed point rather than just telling us things, but that didn't really stop me from feeling compelled to get to the end. And finally, number 1 is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is a short book that is perfect for a single sitting read that will destroy you. This is my favorite kind of book about heavy subjects because it is deceptively simple in language and in story, and yet underneath there are so many like heavy life truths. Actually, I just realized that every single book on this list is kind of a downer, so if you read any of them, happy crying. If you've already read any of them, let me know down in the comments what you thought. I can't wait to see all of your single sitting reads. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon. Hello friends, my name is... That's a great way to start. This, good, yes, read it.